The FIRE movement is very interesting. It challenges a lot of the norms that we see around how we deal with our money, how we spend, how we save, how we invest. And as a movement, it is very challenging to the norms of society. I am Justin Cullen from moneybootcamp.com. I'm a certified financial planner, and let's get cooking. There are a lot of misconceptions about FIRE, and in general, it kind of really peeves a lot of people off. So let's talk about it. FIRE stands for financial independence. It's not always about retiring early. It's in the name, but in general, mostly people are focused on getting that financial independence. For the vast majority of people, money is a stressor. Talking about money is stressful. Day to day, money is stressful. Far more people than would want to be in this situation are living week to week, paycheck to paycheck. And in general, money is not a great thing for a lot of people. It's something that when they think about it, it causes them stress. And they're always thinking about what's the next problem. So for a lot of people, starting to think about your money, taking control of your money, as FIRE advocates stand for, can be really beneficial. There are a lot of statistics around financial stresses in relationships, and most divorces, most relationship issues can be linked back to financial problems. Obviously, there's other problems, but it is a huge majority in any survey. It's always like 50% or more of people who have relationship issues. Money is a common factor in that. People are having issues with their money. They have to stay in jobs they don't want to. They have to stay in jobs longer. It's hard to move jobs. There's a lot of uncertainty. A lot of people are in kind of crappy situations by not taking control of their money. And then when you have your money in control, you're able to actually take more risks because you have that financial buffer. And a big problem a lot of people have is because they don't have savings, they don't have an emergency fund, any small little bump along the way that is unexpected, it becomes a huge problem. People who focus on financial independence, some of the early steps they cover are getting some savings in place, having emergency funds in place. So often the general day-to-day stresses a lot of people experience, by looking into FIRE and starting down the journey of financial independence, you build in a buffer that removes a lot of these early stresses. So with financial independence, retire early, the general principle, you start taking control of your money. You start questioning things. If you don't need to work, if you get to a point where you even have partially achieved some of your goals, you may have a year savings in the bank or invested, you might be able to take some time off work. A lot of people will take a sabbatical or a break. They might swap jobs. A lot of people, when they swap jobs, have to start immediately after. But if you have a bit of a buffer, you can take a few weeks or a month or two or three, and it gives you the option that you mightn't have had before to actually de-stress and take things a little bit slower at times. The main concepts within FIRE is the idea of lifestyle design. And lifestyle design is a topic that most people never really consider. But if you're to take a step back and principally look at your life, you might question a lot of things. How would you live differently if money wasn't a problem? What could you change in your life? Would you spend more time with friends and family? Would you pick up new hobbies? If you didn't have to worry about money, would you change career? Are you working in a career that saps your energy, that just makes you hate getting up in the morning? If you were along your FIRE journey and you had that buffer, would you be able to make a move into a different area? Would you be able to go from a 5-day week to a 4-day week, or even just lower your hours a bit? And this element of lifestyle design, it creeps in that when you start making improvements, you can see so many options that you mightn't have seen before. The 4-day week is a great example. For a lot of people, they have to work 5 days. If you have decreased your spending and you don't need as much to live on, and you build a buffer, you might feel the confidence to approach your work and ask for a 4-day week or lower hours, which you might have had the option to do before because you needed every penny you earned, but also because you didn't have the confidence that if they were to say no, you'd have no other options. Whereas when you build optionality, starting to achieve some of your FIRE goals, you can then go, right, I'm going to start looking for a different job more on my terms. Being able to take control of more areas of your life. You can start to question even simple things. Right now, are you rushing in the morning? If you have kids, do you have to rush your kids to school and then you're rushing to work? Whereas if you have started to achieve some of your fire goals, you might have built in more flexibility. You can walk or cycle your kids to school, start to consider new skills they can learn. Have you wanted to learn an instrument but never had the chance? Have you wanted to take up gardening or another hobby, but you never had the time? A lot of people are not just broke, but they're also time poor because you're spending all of your time working. And then when you're not working, you have chores to do. You have to take care of your personal life. But by achieving a lot of fire goals, fire advocates will find more time in their day. They'll be able to solve more money problems, to have more wiggle room in their day to day. Anytime looking into fire, you will see the financial industry hates fire. They absolutely hate it. They hate the people involved. They hate the ideas. I don't fully understand it, but I've got some ideas. I think one of the key parts here is that there's no product to sell these people. A lot of the financial industry is based around selling you products. So selling you insurance or selling you investments, savings and loans. There's all of these products that the whole financial industry is kind of wrapped around in most countries. Even financial regulation, you look at, it's all from the product perspective. I'm personally not a regulated business because I don't sell those products, but there's so much more to it. And the fire movement gets this. They know you can learn about investing. You can learn a lot of the tax rules. You can learn a lot of the things that in the past were, they were all industry knowledge. They were things that you have to work in the industry to learn. There's also more tools now that allow people to invest, whereas before you had to go through brokers, you had to go down to the bank, whereas now you can download an app and you can do this on your phone. You can invest for free or for cheap, whereas everything had to go through the industry and industry players. I think a lot of financial industry people hate this. They don't like people DIYing. They see that as a challenge. They see it as a status challenge, with them no longer being seen as the experts. They'll have this questioning of normal behavior, and this is something that the financial industry hates. But a lot of normal people also hate this, where fire people question a lot of normal day-to-day activities, like you have to work full time, you have to work 5 days a week, you have to work to retire at 65, and by fire advocates questioning a lot of normal activities and then increasing savings rate. You know, the normal financial industry will encourage you to save 10, 15, 20% of your money. And that's a hard goal for people to achieve. Whereas you have some fire advocates talking about saving 60 to 90% of their take home pay. And I feel this puts a lot of people in the industry, a lot of normal folk, on the back foot, and kind of they see a bit of a personal attack there. With fire, it's more about personal empowerment, and you're not coming at anyone by improving your financial situation. And then last but not least, as is loved in Ireland, begrudgery. People love an underdog, but once they start achieving some success, people don't. I think it's important to talk about what fire isn't, because people generally see the main principles and they don't like this. It's not about doing nothing. It's not about spending no money. Often get the most extreme fire advocates and get the most press. They get the most people looking at them. A lot of it seems very wacky to people, but by having some of the principles of fire, by learning some of the skills, by doing a lot of the work, you can get a lot of benefits. But sometimes people get very extreme in fire and they get a bit too into it. So it seems very weird. You want to spend intentionally. You don't want to just be living joylessly. It's not about having no fun until you achieve your goal. So some people will say, I have a fire goal in 10 years. You don't have to live like a hermit for 10 years. You don't have to do nothing. You want to figure out your fire goal and achieve your fire goal in a way where you're actually living a life. You don't have to retire. A lot of people who go down the fire process, who follow a lot of the path, they actually don't retire. Some will work less, some will change careers. Some along the way will actually come to like their job again because they're under a lot less pressure, or they can take a lot of the crappy parts of their job away by just saying no, because worst case, if they lose their job, it doesn't matter as much. So fire isn't about not working. There are pros and cons to fire. Fire advocates get some stuff right and some stuff wrong. So let's talk about that. I think a great idea that fire advocates get right is that most people can improve their money situation. It's really sad that a lot of people feel disempowered, that they fall behind in their money. Something goes wrong and they just feel like they're chasing every payday. It's about empowerment. It's about giving normal people the knowledge and skills and even encouragement to improve your situation and to work towards your goals. Fixing your money will often improve other areas of your life. When people are just broke and they're chasing money all of the time, you end up not having time. You end up just constantly being stressed. Being stressed is bad for your health. So by lowering stress, you'll improve your general health. You'll improve your relationships with people. You'll improve your sex life. Relationships get better when people are in better money situations. By improving your money situation, you can remove a lot of other stresses. Use money to solve money problems. When you improve your money situation, you can at times throw money at problems to fix them. Work with people who've had kids and all of a sudden their house is a mess. They don't find time to clean it, but they find it really stressful, just living in a mess. So if you have your money in a better situation, pay someone for a couple hours every week, every 2 weeks, even once a month to come and do a deep clean. If you have your money in a better situation, you can pay for something like that. When your car starts making a weird noise, you have the money to bring it to the mechanic. You can rent a car if the car needs to stay in the mechanic. These are problems where they could have caused stress. They could have robbed you of your time. You might have had to take time off work before. You might have had to learn to DIY all these things. And instead, you can throw money at it and you can actually solve these things by saying, this is a money problem and I'm going to use money to solve it. When you're broke, a lot of things aren't money problems, they're time problems because you don't have the ability to outsource anything. You can't pay for someone to come and fix something. You need to go to the shop and buy some things to fix it. You need to spend time on YouTube and Googling and learning about it. You need to do whatever. Something that you could pay an expert to do. You could pay a handyman or a plumber, 100, 200 euro to fix a problem, and they do it in 20, 30 minutes. Could be 5 to 10 hours for you because you're not experienced. You don't have the equipment. You don't have the tools. Sometimes it's expensive being poor, and by having your money in a better situation, you can use money to solve money problems, but then also learn that more problems are money problems. Big ones here. The savings rate matters way more than returns. This is something fire is great at. Fire generally encourages you to save way more than is normal. So 40, 50, 60%, even 70 or 80%. By doing this, you can build way faster than normal people. If you are saving 10% of your income and investing that, you're going to get a small increase every year. But if you can double or triple what you're saving, your actual buffers, your savings, your investments increase way faster. Fire is great about teaching about lifestyle inflation. This is something people really don't internalize normally, but when you get down the fire path, you really think intentionally about your spending and you start to see how big a deal lifestyle inflation is. With lifestyle inflation, you also see that earning more doesn't automatically improve your situation. Time and optionality, these improve massively when you increase your financial situation. When you improve your situation, you get more options, you get more time. You can outsource jobs that give you time. A lot of fire advocates will also just automate things. So they'll take away the decision-making process. When they get paid, boom, a lot of the money is gone. It's gone to savings, gone to pensions, gone to buffer funds. Generally, what fire gets right is that you can improve all these areas. I think it's also important to discuss what fire advocates get wrong. There are a lot of big wins by going down the fire route, but you see certain problems again and again and again. So let's discuss them. Underestimating uncertainty. Later, you can look at the market, you can look at what you're saving. and put it into a calculator and you see a straight line and it goes in one direction and it compounds and you look at your number and say, great, I just need to do this and I'm fine. And you see that a lot of them will learn the mistakes the hard way on this. The DIY approach often leads to making simple mistakes as well. You see, when people start learning to invest, often the simplest investments, the most boring investments, are actually the ones you want to do. You could just invest all of your money in one widely diversified. And for most people, you're probably laughing. That's probably all you need. Whereas people who start getting into fire often start learning more and more and more about investing. And with that, they start thinking they need to do more things. They start thinking about maybe if I know more, I can chase yield. And they look at higher risk investments or they get tricked into scams because they're trying to DIY everything and look at what's new and what's happening. You see this a lot with whatever is kind of the hot thing. So, they might get into crypto, they might get into alternatives, they might get into commodities, physical things like gold or silver. For most normal people, these things are probably too risky. There's often a lot of scammers associated with them. You see a lot of fire people make mistakes that they didn't need to make and they didn't need to learn themselves. They could have learned from others. Sometimes having even a friend, a family member who knows something else about money and running ideas by them rather than DIYing everything is great. As a financial planner, I can also help with this, but it doesn't have to be a financial planner. Sometimes having someone who's a bit older, who's good with money can be great to run things by. As you see with fire advocates is getting obsessed with their number and then letting everything else go, letting relationships slip and cutting expenses too far to the bone that they just stop enjoying life. You see a lot of fire people will have a stage where they go very hardcore and this can hurt their relationships. It can hurt them socially because often you'll have people will hit their goal and they want to enjoy the journey to get there. So if you have a fire goal where you say in 10 or 12 years, I'm going to hit my fire number, I'm going to retire early. I just have to live in monk mode until then. You can burn a lot of relationships. You can waste some really good years of your life by not doing things you should have done, by not spending a bit more. Often, if I talk to someone on the fire journey, I'll actually encourage them to take it a bit easier, to spend a bit more money than they were planning to, even if they have a goal and hitting a goal that maybe they add 2 or 3 years to their goal as an idea so they can spend a bit more and enjoy more of their money on the way. Some of the famous fire people online, a lot of them have achieved their fire number and had a bit of an existential crisis because they achieved fire by being extreme and being focused on one thing and cutting out other areas that are of their life. They had other problems. They had other issues going on and they were so focused, they ignored these and they thought getting to their fire number would solve all of their problems. It's important to be aware of what's going on outside of your finances. You don't want to complicate things. A lot of fire people will overcomplicate things. They'll go deep into researching topics when actually, maybe you only need to read one investing book and you don't need to read 20 investing books. Maybe you don't need to stay up to date on all the latest tax things. If you're going down the road of fire, it's important that you enjoy the journey because it could be a short road, it could be a long road. But either way, you are doing this to improve your life. You're doing it to give you options, to give you flexibility, to allow you to be in control. So it's important you enjoy the journey, that you're not being more stressed by trying to achieve a goal to make you less stressed. Benefits to just trying fire. By trying to achieve this fire goal, what you'll do is you will learn a lot of really helpful skills about controlling your expenses, about taking control of your career, about improving your earnings. You learn about saving. You'll practice the skills of being frugal. You learn about investing. You learn a lot of areas that you may not have before. And even if you abandon the idea of fire later, you'll keep a lot of those muscles, you'll keep a lot of the skills. And also, if you have saved a year or 2 years of expenses, that gives you so many options. If you're having a bad time in work, you can step back and think, can I change job? Can I quit? Can I move to a different team? You can push for yourself in ways in your career that you wouldn't have before because you were afraid. You're going to build a resilience that a lot of people don't have. Roughly 40%, 50% of people in Ireland can't afford a €1,000 expense without having to borrow money based on recent surveys. By building the savings and investments of trying to achieve fire, you'll have a level of resilience that most people won't have. Fire is great. It's a really good thing to aim for, and you're going to learn some great skills along the way. And then let's look at the fire community. The fire community is so cool. Okay. People share their wins and losses. People talk about money in our normal lives. People don't talk about money. So you get to learn about the mistakes of others, the failed investments, the bad timing, the wrong assumptions. So we normally don't talk about money in our day-to-day lives. And the fire community talks in crazy detail and they give their life examples. So it's a great thing to learn from others. You don't have to you don't have to make all these mistakes on your own, and you don't have to learn from your own mistakes. It's so much cheaper to learn from the mistakes of others. The great thing about fire as well, and you see it time and time again, is people will often go a bit too extreme early on, but then they'll soften, they'll mature, they'll get a bit older, and they'll have savings, they'll have investments, and they can take some time to look around and reimagine what their life is going to look like, whether you continue on the fire route or if you completely abandon it. You'll have gained a lot from the journey. Who am I? My name is Justin Culnan. I am a certified financial planner in Ireland. I do fee-only financial planning. I am specialised to work with people who are in the messy middle. That's age 25 to 55. This is where you make most of the big life decisions, and it's where you do all the important groundwork for how you're going to retire and in what state, but you have the most amount of things going on. You're improving your career, you're trying to save for a house, you're getting established in your adult life, you have people around you like your parents and relatives who are getting older and may need care at some point. It's just such an important period of your life. And what I do is I focus on helping you figure out where you are now and how to improve your finances using the financial planning process. This is not a regulated service. I don't offer the financial products that are involved in this being regulated. Savings, investment, insurance. We do all of the work around the planning. We assess where you're at. We look where you're at. If you then need to invest in something to work towards a goal, I'll push you in the right direction and you can do that externally. There is a model in other countries of separating the actual financial planning from the products, and I think it's a great benefit, and I'm trying to bring it to Ireland. If you want to learn more, you can go to moneybootcamp.com or email me justin@moneybootcamp.com and we can have a chat. I offer 3 services: a financial health check. I have started a financial planning group where every month into a specific topic, and you get a lot of the benefits you would get from going through a financial planning process. And it's a lot more affordable. And the idea is that we'll take some small actions every month to improve your situation. I also do full service financial planning, which is kind of for more people who are a bit more advanced. The group financial planning, each month we pick an area and we try to get you to take action on specific things, use some information on the theme for the month, maybe some actions to do, some challenges to get you thinking about how you can work on this in your own life. And then every month we want you to focus on improving your financials. When it comes to fixing your money, small actions compound. So making small improvements every month will have a huge impact on you achieving your goals into the future. The main service I offer is the financial health check. What we do is we assess where you are now. We look for areas that are good. We look for weak areas. We look at things you immediately need to fix. This is an abridged version of the larger financial planning process. And the idea is to make it an affordable approach for people who are aged 25 to 55 in that messy middle period to get an assessment of how they're doing and then make sure they're taking the right actions now to work towards their goals. This has been Justin from moneybootcamp.com. Thank you for your time.